Part 1. Hollow Conversations. We bought the house in March. It was one of those weathered colonials out in upstate New York. 3 stories, half a basement, old wallpaper that peeled at the corners like dried petals. My wife, Anna, said it had good bones. I said it had too many creaks. But it was a deal we couldn't pass up. Spacious, secluded, and just close enough to Syracuse to commute. For our 6-year-old son Nathan, it was paradise. A backyard that sloped into woods, a bedroom with a window seat, and hallways he could sprint down until bedtime. He started calling the house the castle. I should have known something was wrong from the first night. It started with the tapping. Very faint, like someone gently rapping their knuckles against the plaster. It wasn't rhythmic. It wasn't persistent. Just a single tap every so often, always behind a wall, usually near Nathan's room. I chalked it up to the usual: mice, pipes, the house settling after years of silence. But Nathan noticed it too. One night he came down in his pajamas, holding his stuffed dinosaur like a shield. "Daddy," the wall was knocking again. "You probably just heard the wind," I told him. He frowned. It was talking too. I raised an eyebrow. "Talking?" Nathan nodded seriously. "It said my name." I told Anna, but she just smiled and kissed my cheek. "He's got an imagination like you wouldn't believe," she said. "Maybe he's lonely." This move was hard on him. She wasn't wrong. Nathan missed his old friends. The move had pulled him out of kindergarten mid-year, and he'd been quieter ever since. Still, I didn't like the idea of him hearing voices, even if it was just his imagination. That night, I stayed outside his room after bedtime. He didn't notice me listening. "What's your name?" I heard him whisper. Silence. "Can I tell my daddy?" Another pause. "Okay, I won't." I pushed open the door. Nathan looked up from his bed, wide-eyed. "I wasn't doing anything," he said quickly. "Who were you talking to?" "No one." "Nathan." He curled up tighter. I promised not to tell. I didn't sleep well that night. The house made too many noises. I kept thinking of old horror movies, walls hiding things, crawl spaces too narrow to explore. Around 3 a.m., I got up and went into Nathan's room. He was sleeping soundly, but his window was wide open. It had dropped into the 40s that night, and Nathan never opened his window. When I tried closing it, I noticed something. Tiny scratches in the paint on the sill, like fingernails or claws. Over the next few days, Nathan grew more withdrawn. He still played in the backyard, still asked to watch cartoons after dinner. But every evening, right after sunset, he'd retreat into his room and close the door. Anna asked if I thought he was depressed. I didn't answer, because I'd been hearing it too. The tapping was louder now, not just near Nathan's room, but downstairs in the living room walls. In the kitchen, even in the hallway where we hung our coats. Always light, always just enough to make you question it. And then there were the voices. Not full sentences, just fragments. Words that skittered across your mind like dried leaves. "Here. Come play. Hungry." One night, I tried to confront Nathan. "What's in the wall, buddy?" He looked at me with such seriousness it chilled my bones. "It's my friend." "You mean like an imaginary friend?" He shook his head. "He's real. He just doesn't like lights." "Does he live in your wall?" Nathan hesitated. "Not always." "What does that mean?" He looked away. He said he used to have a family too. That was the night I called an exterminator. The guy came the next morning. Young, in his 30s, clearly skeptical. "Ghosts in the drywall," he laughed. "Just check for animals," I muttered. He did a full walkthrough. Basement, attic, crawl spaces. When he came back, he looked pale. "You said the noises were mostly near your kid's room?" "Yeah. There's something weird with the insulation there." "Like what?" "I don't know how to explain it. It's like there's space behind the walls that doesn't match the blueprint. Like someone made their own room between the studs." I stared at him. "You mean like a hidden passage?" "More like a hollow pocket. Big enough to crawl into." "Can you open it?" He hesitated. "I can come back tomorrow with gear. Bring everything you've got." That night, I couldn't stop thinking about what he said. A hollow pocket behind the wall, right next to my son's bed. At 2:17 a.m., I heard it again. "Nathan." It didn't come from his room. It came from the air vent in our room. And it wasn't Nathan's voice. The exterminator didn't show up the next day. I waited until noon before calling the company. A woman answered, cheerful at first, until I gave her the name of the guy who'd visited us. "We're sorry," she said, her voice faltering. "That technician is no longer with our company." "What do you mean?" He didn't check in after his visit yesterday. We haven't been able to reach him." I asked if they'd contacted the police. They hadn't. They just assumed he quit. It felt like I'd swallowed ice. Anna was getting concerned too, though she didn't want to say it out loud. That night, we argued quietly behind the bathroom door. "You think there's something in the walls," she hissed. "What's next? A seance? Burning sage?" I heard it. I heard something say our son's name. Kids hear voices. Adults get paranoid. We're in a new house. This place is creaky, drafty, weird. So what? We just ignore it? Until there's proof? Yes. I didn't argue further. But in the back of my mind, something was cracking open. That night, I slept on edge. At some point, I dreamed of knocking. 3 gentle knocks. Then 3 louder ones. Then one final knock, like something slamming a fist against the inside of my skull. I woke up in sweat and found Nathan standing beside the bed, staring at me. "He wants you to come talk to him." We brought Nathan into sleep with us that night. Anna thought it would comfort him. But around 3:40 a.m., I opened my eyes to find his side of the bed empty. I checked the hallway. His bedroom. Downstairs. Nothing. And then I heard it, rustling. Like movement inside the walls. But not small. Heavy. Deliberate. I followed the sound toward the staircase. It paused, then resumed again further down. In the basement. I hesitated. Something primal inside me screamed, "Don't go down there." But I did. The basement was musty and unfinished. Concrete floor, exposed insulation, and a single hanging light bulb that swayed even when there was no breeze. I found Nathan standing in the far corner, his face inches from the wall. "Nathan," I said, rushing over. He didn't look at me. "He told me he's cold," he whispered. "Who?" "He says the walls are hungry." "Nathan, please, come upstairs." He turned to me slowly, and for the briefest second, I thought I saw something watching through a slit in the insulation. 2 pale eyes, unblinking. And then they were gone. I ripped down that section of the wall the next morning. Anna was furious, but I didn't care. Behind the insulation was exactly what the exterminator described, a narrow space carved between studs. No drywall, no insulation, just emptiness, maybe 4 feet high, running the length of the wall. And inside, bones, tiny ones, dozens of them. I called the police. They brought in cadaver dogs, specialists. Within hours, the house was swarming with people in uniforms and latex gloves. They found more of those hollow pockets behind walls, under stairs, even behind the laundry room. Some held scraps of fabric. Some had etched drawings on the inner beams, faces with no eyes. Long fingers. Smiling mouths. One pocket contained an old, broken toy. A small red truck. Nathan had a similar one. The lead detective, a woman named Carter, sat us down late that night. Nathan was asleep in the car. "You said the previous owner was named Joseph Quill?" "Yeah," I said. "He passed away 2 years ago. House went into foreclosure. Joseph Quill never lived here." "What?" "The property was vacant for nearly a decade. According to county records, the last registered resident was a man named Gregory Morrell." I frowned. "I've never heard that name." "You wouldn't. He was arrested in 2009 for kidnapping and child endangerment. Served time. Released. Disappeared shortly after." Anna's face turned pale. "Are you saying the bones?" Detective Carter didn't answer directly. "We believe someone was squatting here for years. Possibly Morrell. He may have used the house as a kind of nest." "And the voices?" I asked. "The knocking?" My son said. "There were signs of recent movement in some of the pockets. Someone may still be accessing them." "From where?" She paused. "That's what we're trying to find out. They gave us a hotel room that night, courtesy of the county." Anna was shaking as she unpacked a bag for Nathan. "We have to leave. Sell it? Burn it? I don't care." "We will," I said. But I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those pale eyes. That whisper through the vent. The drawings scratched in the walls, some of them looked new. And worst of all, Nathan hadn't cried. Not once. Not even when they found the bones. He just kept whispering. He's still here. He's hungry. He likes us. At 2:43 a.m., I turned on the light and stared at my son's sleeping face. He looked peaceful. Too peaceful. I leaned closer. "Nathan," I whispered. His eyes opened instantly. Not startled. Not confused. Just open. "He wants to meet you tomorrow," he said. "Who?" Nathan smiled. But it wasn't his smile. "You'll see." The hotel room felt colder the next morning, even with the thermostat cranked. Anna was silent while getting dressed. Nathan sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall. Not the TV. Not a toy. Just the wall. Detective Carter called around 8:30. "We've got something. Can you come back to the property?" Anna refused. I didn't blame her. I told her to stay with Nathan and took the car alone. When I arrived, the front door of the house was wide open. Several officers were walking around the yard with clipboards and flashlights, even though it was broad daylight. Carter waved me over. "You need to see this for yourself." She led me around the back of the house to the overgrown patch near the woods. The ground was soft and torn up, like someone had been digging. We brought in ground-penetrating radar. Turns out there's a second basement. What? It's not on the blueprint. Whoever built it didn't want it found. A hatch had been uncovered beneath layers of soil and dead leaves. Rusted metal, with a heavy latch. Carter opened it and nodded for me to follow. The air inside was heavy, old, full of dust and mold. I descended a narrow wooden staircase and immediately felt the temperature drop. The flashlight beams flickered across old concrete walls, faded newspaper clippings, and dozens of children's shoes lined up in rows. Some new, some ancient. I turned away, trying not to be sick. There was a door at the far end of the room. Low, like it was built for someone crawling on hands and knees. Carter ducked inside first. I followed, my shoulders brushing both walls. Inside was a room, a secret chamber. At the center sat a wooden rocking chair, still moving. On the walls were names, etched deep into the wood. I ran my hand over one of them. Nathan. There were dozens of other names. Some common, some strange, but all in the same jagged, childlike scrawl. Carter crouched near the far corner and held up something. "You recognize this?" It was a drawing, crayon on yellow paper. A stick figure, a tall one, with elongated arms and long black fingers. Behind it, a small child stood smiling. In the corner was a note, scribbled in barely legible handwriting. "He's my friend. He lives in the walls. I'm never alone." I took the drawing from her and stared at it, my chest tightening. I recognized the handwriting. It was Nathan's. I confronted him that night. Anna had fallen asleep early, exhausted and numbed by fear. Nathan sat on the floor of the hotel room, absently drawing in a notebook the detectives had given him. "Where did you learn to write your name like that?" I asked. He showed me. "Who is he?" Nathan didn't answer. "Is he the one in the walls?" Still silence. "Nathan, look at me." He did. "I need to know what's going on." He put the pencil down and folded his hands. "He says you're looking too hard." "What?" "He says you'll see him when it's time." I didn't sleep that night. Around 2 a.m., I started to feel a headache forming. A throbbing behind the eyes, dull and rhythmic. The kind you get when something's watching you. When I opened my eyes, I saw Nathan. Not beside the bed. At the window. He stood with his forehead pressed against the glass, staring out at the parking lot. "What are you doing?" I whispered. "He's out there," Nathan replied. "Who?" "He came to find us. He doesn't like hotels." "Nathan, come here." But he didn't move. Just stayed there, pressed to the window. So I stood and walked over. There was nothing outside. Just darkness. A few flickering streetlights. An empty road. Then one of the lights went out. Just blinked off. Then the next. And then I saw it. A tall figure at the edge of the darkness. Motionless. Watching. The next morning, I demanded more answers from Detective Carter. "You said the last person here was Gregory Morrell. Is there anything else about him? Anything at all?" She looked at me carefully, then sighed. "Off the record?" "Sure. He used to be a ventriloquist." I blinked. "What?" "Worked in children's theaters. Puppet shows. Birthday parties. That's how he got close to the kids. Everyone loved him. Until they started going missing. And the voices in the walls? We think he mimicked them. Trained his voice to bounce through vents and pipes. To talk to them? To lure them. I felt my stomach turn. You're saying he's still out there? I think something is. Back at the hotel, Anna told me Nathan had locked himself in the bathroom. I knocked on the door. Nathan? Buddy, it's Dad. No answer. Are you okay? He's showing me where the door is. Nathan replied from the other side. What door? The one inside the house. Nathan opened the door. No response. I tried the knob. It wasn't locked. I opened it slowly. The room was empty. Only the open vent cover on the wall was swinging slightly. Inside, a long, dark tunnel. Too small for an adult, but perfect for a child. I called the police again. Carter arrived 20 minutes later. By then, Nathan had reappeared, crawling out from under the hotel bed like nothing had happened. Did you go into the vent? I asked him. It was just a game, he mumbled. What kind of game? He wanted to see if I could follow him. Detective Carter crouched down beside him. Who is he? Nathan. He used to have a name, but he gave it away. Why? Because names hurt after a while. That night, Anna didn't let go of Nathan for a second. She locked the bathroom door, the windows, even wedged a chair under the doorknob. But deep down, I knew it wasn't enough. The hotel wasn't safe. We weren't safe. Not anymore. I went back to the house alone the next morning. I had one goal, to tear down every goddamn wall in that place until I found it. Whatever it was. A secret passage. A hidden room. Something. Anything. But the house was different now. Not physically. Emotionally. It felt aware. I walked into the living room, and the smell hit me first, earthy and damp, like soil or rot. The same kind of scent you find under floorboards that haven't been touched in decades. I opened the closet near the kitchen and found a new hole in the drywall. It hadn't been there before. The hole was small, just large enough for a head to poke through. I crouched, aimed my flashlight inside, and stared into darkness. At first, I saw nothing. Then I noticed the drawings. Crude, childlike, scratched directly into the wooden beams. Dozens of faces. Some smiling. Some crying. One had no mouth at all. And then a voice whispered, "Almost home." I yanked back, heart pounding. There was no one behind me. But when I looked again into the hole, a single eye blinked, then vanished. I ran out into the front yard, breathing hard. Carter's cruiser pulled in just as I nearly collapsed on the grass. "You okay?" she asked, rushing over. "There's someone still in there," I gasped. "We've swept it, room by room. Nobody's in." "No, not the rooms. In the walls." She looked at me, then toward the house. "We've requested a full structure scan. Should be here by this evening. We don't have until evening." I looked back at the house, and I swear the curtain in Nathan's old bedroom was swaying. There was no wind. Carter made some calls, and within the hour, they had thermal imaging cameras set up across the exterior. She and I watched the monitors closely. For the first 20 minutes, nothing happened. Then, behind the east-facing wall of Nathan's room, a shape, roughly human-sized. Moving, not walking, crawling. "Is that?" "It's not one of our guys," Carter whispered. The image flickered. The shape moved toward the interior vent system. "It's going toward the ducts." I grabbed my phone and called Anna. No answer. "I have to go," I told Carter. "Wait." "He's not after me." "Then who?" I didn't answer. Back at the hotel, Anna's phone rang unanswered 4 times. I ran through the lobby, up the stairs, and toward the room. The door was ajar. Inside, the lights were off. "Anna." No reply. I stepped inside. The bathroom door was open. Empty. I checked under the beds. No one. And then I saw it. The vent cover. Screwed off. Left beside a trail of tiny, dirty fingerprints leading inside. Nathan? Nothing. I fell to my knees, yelling into the dark hole. "Nathan, if you're in there, come back. Please." And then, from the other end of the vent, faint and barely audible, "He's showing me the real house now." I don't remember driving back. I barely remember kicking in the wall, prying open the beams, crawling into that tight hollow space like a rat in a maze. I just know I followed the sound. The whispers. The voice that wasn't quite Nathan's, wasn't quite anyone's. The tunnel turned and twisted, deeper than it should have been, descending. Eventually, the wooden beams gave way to old stone, then brick, then open space. A circular chamber, hidden below the foundation. And in the center, a man, thin, bent, wearing a patchwork suit of children's clothes, his face hidden beneath a leather mask stitched with string. One side of his jaw looked broken. He was cradling something in his arms. A puppet, shaped like a little boy. He looked up, not startled, like he'd been waiting. "You came," he rasped. "Where's my son?" He pointed behind me. I turned. Nathan stood in the shadows, smiling. "He said I could live here now," he said. "No, buddy, we're leaving." "I don't want to leave. He tells stories. Better than cartoons. He says he can be my new dad." I stepped forward. "You're coming with me." The man stood too. "You can't take him," he said, voice soft, cracked. "He chose to stay. They all do." "You're sick." "No, I'm hollow." "And so are you." I ran, grabbed Nathan and ran, crawling through the tunnel, hearing that thing scraping behind us like bones on brick. Nathan screamed. The tunnel narrowed. Something clawed at my ankle, but I kicked and pulled and dragged us up and out. I don't remember how we got to the car. Just Anna's scream when she saw us. Just the flashing lights when Carter arrived. Just the look in her eyes when she said, "There's no record of anyone ever living under this house." They sealed the house. Carter called in structural engineers, hazmat, even paranormal investigators off the record. But nothing explained it. The hidden rooms, the bones, the scent, the stories, the man. They didn't find him. Not a trace. Not a thread of his clothes, not a fingerprint, not a single hair. Only the puppet. It sat in the center of that stone chamber, right where we left it. A crude child effigy of stitched denim and yarn. No mouth. Just two black buttons where the eyes should be. Nathan stopped speaking for 2 days after we brought him back. He wouldn't eat, wouldn't cry, just stared at walls. Anna wanted to move again. Far away. New state. New start. But I said no. I couldn't leave until I knew what we were leaving behind. I stayed. Took unpaid leave. Spent nights in a motel while Anna and Nathan flew to stay with her sister in Oregon. I returned to the house every day. The police eventually cleared it for access, but Carter warned me not to go in alone. I did anyway, because I had to know. Was it really over? It wasn't. I knew the moment I stepped back inside. There was no smell, no drafts, no creaks, just silence. A deep, waiting silence. The kind that feels like breath being held. That first night, I sat in the living room with a flashlight, recorder, and my old field journal from when I thought I'd be a journalist. I took notes. At 2:11 a.m., I heard scratching. By 2:17 a.m., I was sure it was behind the bookshelf. By 2:19 a.m., it was whispering. They all came back. The voice was different now. Older. Cracked and strained like a dying phonograph. I followed it to the hallway. Then the stairs. Then down into the basement. The chamber had been sealed. Concrete poured in. Reinforced with steel bars. City ordered demolition. But there was something new. A drawing. Fresh. Etched into the concrete. A stick figure with long arms, holding hands with a smaller one. The smaller one had Nathan's name beneath it. And the other? No name. Just the words. The one who listens. That night, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the wall of the motel, playing Nathan's old voice recordings back through my phone. He used to sing to himself. Whisper things into his dinosaur plushie. Tell stories while playing with action figures. Normal stuff. Harmless. But now, when I listened more closely, I heard pauses. Spaces where someone could have been answering him. Breathing. Whispering just beneath the threshold of human hearing. One file, in particular, made my stomach flip. It was a recording from 3 months ago, Nathan playing with blocks. "Okay, now your turn," he said. Silence. Then, "He says the hollow man is hungry." Anna came back with Nathan 2 weeks later. He seemed better. At least, at first. He smiled again. Ate ice cream. Watched cartoons. Laughed at the same episodes over and over. But every now and then, I'd catch him doing it again, standing at the wall, listening, like something was still whispering to him. One night, I tucked him in and kissed his forehead. "You okay, buddy?" He nodded. "You don't hear anything anymore?" He hesitated, then shrugged. "He's still there," he said quietly. "But he's deeper now. Deeper." Nathan looked at me. He went under the skin of the house. I didn't tell Anna. I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I installed cameras, baby monitors, motion sensors, every room, every hallway, every crawl space, even one in the vent Nathan had used. Weeks passed, then months. Nothing. Until the night Nathan turned 7. We threw a party. Balloons, pizza, cake, friends from school, laughter, the normal chaos of childhood. Anna cried because it was the first time it felt normal again. That night, as we cleaned up, Nathan was quiet. "Did you have fun?" I asked. He nodded, but something was off. He kept glancing at the vent in the ceiling. "Is he gone?" I asked gently. Nathan blinked. "He's not allowed during parties." "Why?" "Too many names. He gets confused." I didn't ask more. I just smiled, but my hand shook as I threw away the trash. At midnight, I reviewed the camera footage like I always did, and froze. At 2:12 a.m., Nathan sat up in bed, looked straight at the camera, then turned toward the vent. From the hallway cam, a tall figure emerged from the shadows, bent, shuffling, crawling on all fours. But fast, so fast. It entered Nathan's room, and the camera glitched. When it returned, Nathan was asleep again. But the puppet? It now sat on his desk. No one had placed it there. Not us. Not him. We don't talk about it now. We don't talk about the vent, or the puppet, or the missing minutes between camera flickers. Nathan's happy again. He laughs. He plays. He dreams. And sometimes, he dreams loudly. I hear him talking, telling stories that don't belong to him. Stories about walls that breathe, rooms that crawl, names that hurt, and someone who lives deeper now, under the skin of our house. And sometimes, I think I hear the walls reply, "You should have never listened."